welcome back. I'm here with Anant to talk about agents, Git, interestingly enough, and how agentic workflows are changing. So why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, hey, my name is Anant. I work at Zed as an AI engineer, mostly on the agent side of things.
So we were talking a little bit before this. You spent a lot of time working on evals. Can you tell me a little bit more about how y'all approach, judging, how good the models are, especially when new models come out, how you can evaluate them quickly?
Yeah, so at Zed, our core product is a code editor, and that's something you rely on daily. So we don't want the behavior of that code editor to change from under you just because you came the next day and there's a new model release. So we run evals every time there's a new model release, and we make sure that the tools and system prompts that we provide to the user through our agent interface is working similarly enough to these other agents that have been around for a while. We keep up with new evals also. We have our own internal sort of data sets that we make sure that this thing works against. And we're always trying to expand that and see what are new ways that we can ensure consistency while keeping up with the frontier.
Yeah, I'm curious. So what makes a good eval? I feel like it's always, I hear about it and some people are doing them really granularly, some people are doing them really broadly. What makes a good eval?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the metrics that come with evals are sort of vanity metrics in the sense that if you move them by a couple of points in either direction, they don't really meaningfully tell you much about how differently your actual agent is going to behave and how differently the output of the code, which is the thing that you care about, is going to be. So for us, the thing that we take from evals is sort of more granular observations. We go and look at the complete rollout. And I don't think there's a lot of good tools for this. So currently we just throw a lot of logs at some LLM, but I manually go and look through all of these rollouts and see what was the behavioral difference between, let's say, Sonnet 4 point something versus Sonnet 5 point something, and we just make sure that behavior change is not something that's going to be disruptive to the end user.
I see. So I'm curious, new model comes out, you may or may not have known about it ahead of time, you don't know the day it's going to drop is. What's that look like? What's the process of, there's a new model, obviously everyone wants to use it, right? How do you get that out the door quickly with quality and reliability?
Yeah, so the good thing with Zed is that you can bring in whatever model you want. We provide a bunch of ways to either bring in your own provider, use locally hosted models, anything. So we don't have a lot of control over when that switch happens, right? Model could drop at 10 a.m., 10:01, someone's using it in Zed. So the way we make sure is we want to make sure that as quickly as possible, we can update Zed, but it doesn't roll out as soon as a model rolls out. And a lot of times when a model rolls out, we don't have to update things. We just want to make sure that as Zed evolves, we keep up with whatever mix of models our users are using the most. So we have a web page on zed.dev that shows the mix of models in Zed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a baseline for let's not at least break these while we support whatever new thing has come out today.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm curious. You were mentioning before this when we were chatting around you don't think Git's the solution anymore. What's wrong with Git and what are y'all doing instead?
I mean, Git's great, right? You still need to track sort of how the file changed over time, and you still need a place where you can go and say, hey, this is the version, this is the final thing, I'm going to ship this. But a lot of work now happens before that final commit happens, right? I'll personally, when I'm writing code, I'll go talk to this agent, it'll write up something. Mostly it's bad because it's me and my first attempt. And then I'll do it 3 or 4 more times. And I want to know a couple of things as this process happens. When I'm sending this out to review, to get a review from someone else, or if someone Git blames it in the future, how do I trace back that here's all the conversations I had around this piece of code, here's why we ended up in this direction and this design, and here's things that the agent can learn for the future designs that it's going to produce. And if it touches this piece of code again, maybe let's not do that. Yeah. So we have DeltaDB in Zed, and that tracks all of your operations on the file system level, as well as key taps and other things in this data structure called a CRDT. And we're just trying to see how we can sort of capture the context around code, because that's where a lot of the work happens now that we're not writing manual code.
How do you think about what's the right amount of context? Because I can imagine, like, I'm sure storing all of this is fine, but I'm coming back later, and I have this problem today. Someone brings up an issue. Oh, we discussed it in Slack like 6 months ago. I opened up the Slack thread. It's like 80 messages long, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't have the time to like figure this out. So it's like the balance of thinking about what context should be included, what shouldn't be, managing that.
Yeah, so good thing with DeltaDB is that you aren't manually digging through it. So it's a little different from like when someone sends you a long thread in Slack, because it's all geared towards agents. I think the idea is to expose all of the context in a way that the agent can go fetch the pieces that it needs and leave behind the pieces that it doesn't for whatever problem you throw at it, while maintaining the richest possible history that we can.
Interesting. So how does it look like if I'm using the product and I have this, like, how does the experience seem? Is the experience different in any way? If I was like used to using Git, am I doing something different? Does my workflow need to change, or is it sort of just, it kind of looks the same, feels the same, and I get the value out of it?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. The product is still in beta, so if you want to go try DeltaDB, sign up at z.dev, and we'll let you know when you can try it.
Sure.
Yeah.
You got to give me a little bit. Like, what's the goal state? Like, what are you aiming for here?
Yeah, I think what we're aiming for is like a way to point to more than just code, right? Like, for example, for like code reviews, my mental checklist for reviewing someone else's code now is not, does this code look good? It is, did you run like the code review skill on this piece of code? Did you rewrite this like multiple times, or was this like a first pass? Like, what were the edits that you made, and like sort of this entire history of what were these conversations that you had with the agent. And I would like a view into that without, like, there's currently no way to share this and collaboratively do this, right? Like, if you go talk to like Codex, Cloud Code, whatever you use, and you want to share that with the person who's reviewing your code, there's
really hard.
No collaborative way of doing this. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Kind of separate question. Thing I've been asking a lot of people about. What's the level of which you are reviewing your code, or the code that the agents are writing manually? That's one. And two, in order for that to change, what would you need to see?
So I review all of the code that it writes. Maybe not every piece of code that it writes that doesn't get to like the PR stage, but once I am sending it in as something that needs to go into production or just merge into main, I want to make sure that I understand most of the lines of code that it is in. So like, I want to read as much of it as I can, which also means that I want to keep my PR small, like the same things that we've been doing all along for like human PRs. So I still sort of maintain that. I don't know if that's a skill issue or I should get better at that.
I don't necessarily think so. I'm curious, so what would need to change about either the LLMs themselves, the tooling, the ecosystem, for you to be able to feel confident that, you know what, I actually don't need to actually go in and look at most of the code in these PRs anymore?
Yeah, I think verification is hard, right? Like we've started investing more in tools around, does this thing perform well after I merge this piece of code in? Is this thing correct? Is it like causing regressions? And like unit tests cover some of that, performance tests cover some of that, but it's not the entire surface area. And then there is also the thing of what happens long term if you don't have a mental model of your code base and I want to go edit something in the future. So I think
Isn't the idea that agents have the mental model of the code base?
Yeah, but at least till now, and maybe I'll be wrong, but you still need to direct the agents towards like,
That is true.
here's what you need to go build and in this way. So until that changes, I feel like I still would like to review my code. Once the agents are like, yeah, you don't have to like review my designs, I'm good, just giving up. You can have the mental model. I will use my brain for something else.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Yeah,
Awesome.
It's nice talking to you.